Welcome to a study of Paul's letter to the Romans, lesson number 3. God's wrath against mankind and God's righteous judgment. Romans 1:18 through 2:16. Section 1. God's wrath against mankind. Romans 1:18 through 32. God's wrath against mankind, Paul maintains, is being demonstrated by what was going on empire-wide at the time he was writing. Whether the inhabitants of the empire could perceive it or not, the whole creation was demonstrating two basic facts about its creator. And I think this is true to any period of time. Whether you have a written revelation or preaching or anything else, everybody who is not deliberately perverse can see that God is real, that there is something that has caused our existence and is guiding the historical process, and that something or something is powerful, because the power involved in running the universe is close to unbelievable. When I was researching for my book that dealt with the scientific worldview, I ran across a calculation of the amount of energy that is expended every second universe-wide, and it is an unbelievable amount of energy. Paul does not intend that his readers use these facts to develop some kind of natural theology that would be different from God's written self-revelation. All genuine theology is biblical. He is merely removing the excuses people have for refusing to think deeply about their relationship to God. Instead, he uses them to charge human beings with culpable guilt for their sinful behavior. Their rejection of the revelation of God in His creation caused them to turn to created entities in that creation, and thus led to the creation of all non-biblical revelations. Now, I recognize that claim is arrogant, and if it were based on my own reasoning, it would be very arrogant. But it is the claim of the entire Bible that is so. That if you look round about you, you will know that there is a God and that He is powerful. But much worse than that, human rationality itself is rendered meaningless and incapable of determining what was real and what's really going on. The very instrument by which we analyze and determine the historical facts is perverse. And therefore, all of our conclusions are twisted and darkened and really ultimately meaningless. God allowed the people of the time to follow the desires of their sinful selves into all kinds of sexual sins, including male and female homosexuality. Paul's conclusion about the origin of homosexual behavior is that it was the natural outcome of continued rejection of his desires for human beings. He does not say that these things caused human homosexuality, but only that its existence demonstrates the depravity of human nature. No one knows what causes homosexuality. And from my perspective, one of the tragic results of our too quick acceptance of homosexuality as, quote, natural, is that we have stopped investigating it intellectually, and at this rate, no one ever will know what causes it. What is important is that human beings have exchanged the truth of God for a lie. Verse 25. He then lists various kinds of evil that flow from this exchange. Of the many lists of evil that Paul makes, this seems to me to be the most complete. There is no evil that I can think of that cannot be found in this list. Then Paul's next section, God's righteous judgment upon mankind, Romans 2, verses 1 through 16. In this text, Paul follows the pattern of Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount. He is not making a generalized statement concerning the process of judging. Instead, he is saying, as did Jesus in Matthew 7:1, that when a person judges others, he is actually condemning himself by both the act of and the standard by which he judges others. This action perverts the very purpose for which God is kind and merciful to his people. He is that way to cause them to change the way they live. All the actions of sinners are adding to the load of guilt that they're storing up against themselves against the day of judgment. That store of guilt is what they have done, which will be the basis of God's judgment, a righteous judgment against them. On that day, there will be no racial or cultural difference. All will be judged by the simple standard of what they have done. It would be a terrible thing if the gospel stopped there. And my friends, for some people, that's where the gospel stops. It comes to them as a judgment against their evil behavior and offers them no solution for their problems. But the gospel of Jesus Christ does not stop there. That's where it starts. Thank you.